Italy, the connection between food and wine is deeper than just a good pairing. It is a marriage of thousands of years. And you see, when UNESCO recently recognized the Italian cuisine as a World Heritage Treasure, they weren't just honoring a list of recipes like lasagna or pizza or pasta, but rather they were honoring a living cultural system. And at the very heart of that system, there is wine sitting right next to the plate of food. But that is something that we have always really said here at Vero. Where there is good food, there is good wine. After all, when we go around the world searching out wild and scarce wines to bring to the US for clients, distributors, and businesses to discover along with us, we will find all the time that there are specialty foods right alongside those wines that fit into our small production artisan portfolio. For centuries, these two have evolved together. The people who farmed the land and created the local dishes were the same people that were cultivating the local grapes and drinking the local wines. It wasn't a scientific experiment, but it was rather a natural, historical instinct. It's almost like the idea that what grows together goes together. And because of this, wine didn't just complement the food, it was designed by the food, as the food was designed by the wine. The two formed interlocking and interconnecting traditions and heritage together. But to understand how this designed by each other system really works, you need to have a little bit of a look back at Italy's history of city-states and different kingdoms. It's hard to imagine now, but before Italy was unified in the 1860s, it was a patchwork of independent regions, and each had their own laws, dialects, and borders, and cultures too. This localism meant that for centuries, people were isolated within their areas and their regions. They ate and drank what was grown within their near surrounding areas or along well-established trade routes. In these tiny microcosms, a kind of natural selection would take place. The wine didn't just happen to be in the same room as the food, but rather the two things grew up together, more like siblings. And this is in equal parts happy accident and science. Even in the 1500s, texts were being written about how food and wine intersected. And historically, people knew what we are just rediscovering now and has become fashionable, that wine is a functional part of a meal. Like we had salt and spices as ingredients to a dish, wine can be just as much a part of balancing it as food. You will see this very clearly in places all over Italy. Like, take Emilia-Romagna, for example. The cuisine there is famously rich and fatty. Think mortadella, salami, cured meats, lasagna, and pastas. Naturally, the local wine, Lambrusco, will pair perfectly with all of these types of food. It's high in acidity with refreshing bubbles, and it acts as a natural palate cleanser. It's a marriage of necessity to balance out the food and the wine and the flavors. But what truly came first, the chicken or the egg? Or rather, the wine or the food? Perhaps it was neither. In the sense that maybe these things, when they grew up together, this rudimentary concept of pairing has always been involved. You know, the wine and the food, it seems natural and intuitive that certain foods were traditionally favored that went well with the local grapes that were found and grown. And maybe in other cases, wines and grapes were favored and planted that also went with the local style of the cuisine and the produce and animals that were common with the animal husbandry in the area. And this still goes on today to a certain extent. When we think about the three pillars of Italian cuisine, just as they apply to food, there are also their applications to the world of wine. Now first, there is pillar one, or identity and deep tradition. Now wine has got this covered. I mean, after all, the Etruscans, the Romans, the Greeks, they were farming grapes and making wine for centuries and millennia in Italy. But there's also a human side to this heritage, especially when we consider it in a modern sense. Just as a grandmother's recipe is a treasured antique in a family, we work with families who treat their vines with the same reverence. Think of our under-the-radar Barolo producer, Aldo Clerico, where the heritage and the vines and the winemaking comes from both sides of the family in the same town. Or there's Case Corini, where they have protected their old vines and land with natural farming methods for 6 generations. And we can't forget the 500-year-old olive trees of the Febo family and 4 generations of Vivaldi's making Monferrato wines. And even we can go down to the southern part of Italy, in Puglia with Domus Horte. These aren't just businesses to these people, but they are family legacies where the wine in the glass is a direct reflection of an ancestral identity and familial tradition. And then we have pillar 2, territorio, or territory, and biocultural diversity. In Italy, the place defines the taste. This is where Italy's incredible wealth of native grapes will really come into play in the world of wine. Because the land is so diverse, it allows for styles of wine that you won't find anywhere else. We see this in some of our producers who are driven by a dream to leave the world better than they found it. These are places like Quercia Scarlata, or the incredible women-led estates like Frignano or La Magliosa that we have discovered up and down the peninsula. They aren't just making wine, but they are preserving a rich heritage of biodiversity along with producing olive oils to protect the bioculture of their specific hills. And they treasure finding those small, unique grapes that maybe would disappear otherwise. They're trying to save that territory of their areas. And finally, we have the last pillar of growing, harvesting, preparing, and serving, of sustainability and seasonality. This is the ritual of the table, of honoring the produce. A farm-to-table reality where the farmer and the chef are often one and the same, just as the winemaker and the farmer are often one and the same. It's the philosophy that the same care that is used to grow a grape is used to grow olives and used to harvest a hazelnut, like we see with Silvia Martini in her agri-pasticceria or an agricultural bakery. Whether it's harvesting grapes or preparing a meal or grinding up hazelnuts to make an artisanal Nutella like gianduia, this process is seamless from the plants to the table. The wine is grown to be served and the food is prepared to be shared. In this holistic system, the bottle on the table is just the final ingredient of a recipe that we have used to craft lovingly the food that is on our plates. Now, this ancient marriage of food and wine exists for one reason, really: the experience. A local wine doesn't just make the food taste better, but rather it enriches the moment. And wine is a crucial spice that helps us to turn a meal into a meeting and to offer a gesture of love that is meant to be shared with others. But sometimes we can run into a bit of a problem, because it can be really hard, if not darn near impossible, to find these authentic connections on a typical American supermarket shelf. Most mass-distributed Italian-style wines have lost their three-pillar heritage. They've lost their link to the land, their link to the traditions, and to the local cuisine and kitchen of where they're from. But we here at Vero have made it our mission to combat this. We are a direct source for the real thing. We find those wild, scarce, and artisan bottles that help to bring the UNESCO living heritage directly to you, so you can experience that Italian table UNESCO pillar feeling exactly as it was meant to be. So go check out the Vero shop on verovino.com that I have linked below to browse some of these amazing artisan three-pillar approved products. We have some amazing wines, but not just wines. We also have organic extra virgin olive oils and even hazelnut products. And we can ship to most states in the US. And for businesses, you can contact us for pricing. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let us know in the comments below, what are your favorite traditional Italian food and wine pairings? If you enjoyed this video, a like and a subscribe are always appreciated, and it makes sure that you will stay up to date with Vero content, especially when it is paired with a subscription to the Vero newsletter on verovino.com. I will see you with the next video, which might be this one here that talks about the Italian cuisine in the UNESCO framework. Those three pillars that we were talking about earlier. Bye!